The ratio of CEO to worker pay has hit a record high in America, creating the worst income gap in modern history. Republicans argue that this gap is necessary because CEOs possess some special kind of skill that ordinary workers just don't have, which is nonsense. A new study tells us this isn't the case at all. I have Michael Burg with me now to talk about that study. Michael, the rich get richer. Actually, the rich get filthy rich, and the poor get disgustingly poor. That seems to be the state of the world economy where it comes to workers versus CEOs. This is an incredible story that you wanted to talk about, the wage disparity in the Republican design. Tell me, lay it out for me generally.
Well, today the average CEO makes $16.3 million a year. That's average. Some of them are making hundreds of millions of dollars. And the disparity between the worker and the CEO, if you look at it in terms of history, it was 20 to 1 in 1965. And people could say, okay, that makes some sense. Today, it's over 300 to 1, I think 303 to 1 CEO to worker.
You had some notes you wanted to that you took on this. Just pick up those notes. Let's talk about these numbers. You have them in front of you?
I do.
Yeah. Let's just pick that paper up and let's talk about this wage discrepancy. I mean, it really, if you think about it, the average American has no idea how bad these numbers really are. But put it in terms of how this has progressed over the years, Mike. How has this gotten worse and worse?
If you look, like I said, 20 to 1 in 1965, 303 to 1 in 2004. And even if you look at the minimum wage has dropped 24% since 1968 in terms of relative dollars. So people are making significantly, almost 25% less than what they were making in 1968. And unfortunately, this is the plan that the Republicans and the lobbyists and the billionaires have put into place. And it's been really done through the politicians and all the money that's gone to them. It's disgraceful.
Well, I mean, here's what we want to think, okay? We want to think that these CEOs have a special skill. They're just so wonderful that they've turned everything around. But if you look at most of these, the majority of the companies where the average CEO is making anywhere between $14 to $16 million a year, and then you analyze, well, how did that company do? How did they do in the big picture? There's really nothing extraordinary about how the company did, but they do something. The term that the term Wall Street uses, because they don't want anybody to understand what it means, is they say, well, they rely on rents.
Right.
You know that term, rents. Rents is just a phrase for saying they serve on everybody else's board and everybody gets together and makes this happen. What is your take on that?
Well, my take on it is this, is that there is no relationship to the earnings of a company and what the CEO gets paid. Basically, the CEO gets whatever they want. And this idea of rents that you talk about, what they really are talking about is, well, we think we have to pay this person that kind of money to get them to be the CEO or be on the board. That's ridiculous. And when you include that $16.3 million a year average, even if you compare that to others, big, high earners, there is no relationship that makes any sense. The thing that's very disturbing to me, Mike, and I think our viewers have to understand, is this: if you look at history, and we go back to the French Revolution, let them eat cake. We're going there. The United States of America is going to that kind of attitude, which is telling poor people, you can eat cake if you can't find bread. In other words, you can't make a living. And what does that do to America? Number one, it makes people not want to work, because if you can't make a living and be able to live on it, even with two people in your household living, you lose hope and you lose despair. And when that happens, that's when people, and quite frankly, everyone says, well, why are all these people joining ISIS? Well, they have no hope.
Well, let me run something by you, Mike. This Wall Street has a way of, they've done a wonderful job by the way of U.S. Chamber of Commerce, by the way of ALEC, by the way of associated industry, by way of corporate media, which is corporate media. They go hand in hand. There's no way that you can say corporate media is not merely an extension of Wall Street. It is. Okay, so what have they done? They have hidden this very disturbing fact that these CEOs that are making $16 million a year, if you say, would you please justify that for me? Would you show me what you did for this company? And if the company on a 10K, which is the reporting methodology, if there's any increase at all, I don't care if it's a millionth of a penny, the CEO, and if you read these articles, the CEO will claim we're making increases and I'm worth that $16 million.
Sure.
The person making the increases is the workers. The workers are doing the job. Productivity is at an all-time high. It's never been higher.
Right.
But wages have been suppressed now for going on two and a half decades. Wages have been intentionally suppressed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce on going after people's wages, but their pals they're sitting on the boards of these big companies, move from company to company to company, saying we need to pay the CEO $1 million, $2 million, $3 million more every year. Is that kind of what's happening?
Absolutely. And not only that, but you look at stock options, you include that. There's deferred compensation. If you do look at those 10Ks, you see all that money that CEO is going to get. The other thing I think is important for everybody to understand is that this minimum wage issue and suppressing the workers, it is a plan. It's not by accident. And it's done through the lobbyists. It's done through the Chamber of Commerce. It's done through the money that's given to the politicians to keep the wages low. And not only that, but to be in a position where many of these companies, not only are they keeping the wages low, they're going overseas and getting really, really cheap labor overseas. They're taking their workers elsewhere while the CEO is making more and more money, even though on the backs of the workers, and we're getting rid of employees who are the U.S. citizens. It is absolutely a crime.
What's happening? What's happening with that, Mike? I think the statistics are overwhelming. That productivity is increasing, has increased almost every year, with a couple of blips in there, but almost every year for the last 30 years. Okay. Now, while that's been happening, it's a graph. While productivity is going down, you're watching the other part of the graph, the workers' wages are going down. And the way that's happening, and you point this out, all these millions of dollars being paid to the 0.01% CEOs, they're taking that money and they're giving it to lobbyists. And then lobbyists are going to legislators and they're trying to destroy unions. They're trying to defeat wage and hour improvements and increases, and they've been hugely successful because it's when they have all the money, what chance does the worker have? I mean, the guy with all the gold makes the rules, isn't that kind of how it works?
Wall Street is running our government. The billionaires are running our government. The people of the United States are not running our government, and that's what the problem is that everybody is dancing to Wall Street's tune, all the politicians, and that's because that's where the money comes from, Mike. That's where the lobbyists are going. That's where Citizens United has allowed unlimited contributions from the billionaires, the people who are making unseemly amount of money compared to what the workers are making.
The CEOs, just quick example, the CEOs that have gotten paid the $16, $18, $20 million a year for the last 10 years, they now have the power, they now have the ability to even increase that influence that they have geometrically because they're holding all the power. They're holding all the money. And the union worker, the guy that's wages have been suppressed, right, he has absolutely no way, short of a candidate like Bernie Sanders, that's out there for him day to day saying we must change this. He has no voice. Michael Burg, I know day to day you're out there trying to do everything you can for the American worker, and I appreciate that. Thank you for joining me, okay?
Thank you, Mike.
That's all the time we have for today, but you can always get the news that corporate media won't cover on our website at ringofireradio.com and on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/GoLeftTV. I'm Mike Papantonio, and we'll see you tomorrow.